Vipul, you can start.
Yeah. Hi, good morning, everyone. My friends, colleagues, and my respected seniors. A warm welcome to this session on a holiday, basically. And first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Vipul Agarwal, assisting Sudarshan ji for resolution of stress asset by way of deep restructuring. Though we have done some transactions in under one-time resolution scheme by RBI as well. And I would like to give my sincere thanks to Sudarshan ji for providing me such an opportunity to share my views on resolution of financially stressed assets. So objective, first of all, we need to understand what is the objective of this session. So objective of the session is to discuss the detailed approach one analyst may adopt while preparing a successful, viable resolution plan in long run for a financially stressed company, and most importantly the RP should be acceptable to the lenders as well, because until unless because it's the lenders who has to implement the plan. Until unless they will not be in sync with the plan, or they will not be agreed to the plan conditions, they will not implement the resolution plan. So this is a very key to the key we need to consider while preparing the resolution plan, that we should keep lenders in the loop, or we can take their views, we can consider their views while preparing the resolution plan. So before start with the restructuring, first of all, we should aware why restructuring is required and when it is required. So for that, we need to understand the financial stress. First of all, what is debt restructuring? Basically, debt restructuring is the journey of an account. In a very short words, you can say journey of an account from substandard category to the standard category. Because when we pitch in, when a client approach to us for the financially stressed client approach to us for the resolution of his account, that account may be in like SMA category, or maybe in a NP category, that we can discuss later on what is the SMA category and what is the NPA category and what are the different forms of that. Before coming to the restructuring, one should know about what is the financial stress. Financial stress basically is a situation where a company or individual is unable to generate enough cash to pay to meet out its debt obligations. Debt obligations may be like interest payment to their lenders, principal repayment due to the lenders, and any amount due to their operational creditors as well. So that is a condition which is financial stress. So most of the time we have to deal with the clients who are in the financially stressed condition only. So now, can everybody see my screen? Is my screen visible, sir?
No, I will request all the members to mute their mic. Rishabh, please do so. Sunil ji, आपका भी.
Sudarshan sir, is my screen visible to all?
Lokesh, can you mute all?
So, financial stress. Now we need to understand what are the basic reasons of the financial stress. There may be several reasons for a company to be to slip into a financial stress situation. That may be because of macroeconomic or microeconomic, which are industry level, or maybe at a company level. Few of that are highlighted here, like some changes in the regulatory environment of the industry for which the company is working. The second reason may be the lower sales, lower profitability margin, etc. Poor debt management, poor cash flow management, and other reasons may be the reason why a company can move into the stress, basically. So, just a minute. So, there are the few reasons which can lead to the financial stress to the company, like losses to the company, and cash flow management, because cash flow is what? Cash flow is the basically the speed at which the money comes to the business, come inflow and outflow of the money, speed of the inflow and outflow of the money. A company might in a situation, a company might making a profit, but it is not necessarily that they are having a cash in their kitty. They may be having a profit in the form accrued profits as well. In this case, company might not have cash in their hand and to run their day-to-day operations, to meet out their other debt obligations. But still we need to, but in that case also company need to pay out their fixed costs, their variable cost, their other expenses. So in that case, the company does not properly manage their, if company does not manage their credit cycle properly, a gap between inflow and outflow may create and can create a financial stress situation for that particular company. So, and the next thing can be lower sales and EBITDA for the company, because basically it is that if a company sales are low, so in that case they are not they are unable to cut down its expenses. It would lead to a cash crunch. The sales can drop due to the various reasons, such as like cyclic factors, seasonal demands. Like we can take a very decent example of decent example of like a hospitality industry. So because hospitality industry again depend upon the, because we are in India and here we have some auspicious days for wedding and for other rituals. So again there is a cyclic trend in hospitality industry where their sales may go up and down during the year. So while preparing a resolution plan, we need to understand what is their cash cycle basically. That is also a very important thing, and that if one will not uh, critically examine this type of situations while preparing a resolution plan, that may lead to failure of resolution plan. That because practically we are currently handling a similar case where we are facing such issues. The company is in hospitality sector, and just because of this lean period and their peak period, they have already faced a cash crunch. And now we have examined this issue critically and proposes a resolution plan with their on a monthly basis cash flow. Like first half of the year is like lean period, and then second half of the financial year is the peak period. So we have adjusted our repayment schedule for the future in such a manner only. So it is very important for an analyst while preparing a resolution plan to understand the industry of the company, in which industry it is, what is the company, what is the company's background, what is their strength, what is their weaknesses, what is the promoter strength, and they also especially examine what is the debt profile of the company and other things as well.
Ashish
So
ji, Ashish ji, please mute your mic.
hello, I am requesting everyone kindly mute their mic. So now we can discuss what is SMA. As I discussed earlier, SMA and NPA. What is SMA and what is NPA? So basically, SMA is a situation. SMA is basically, if I'll talk about the full form, it is special mention accounts. So in 2014, RBI introduced the criteria of basically SMA. And what was the reason behind to come out with an idea of SMA? The special reason was to early identification of any stress or any problem, so that a lender can take appropriate steps before slipping of account into NPA category. So further SMA we can divide into three category, which is SMA 0, 1 and 2. So basically this is for term loan. 0, 1 and 2 is for term loan. If we'll talk about SMA 0 is a condition or is a situation where your overdue of it can be overdue of interest, overdue of your principal repayment, EMI. If it is overdue by 1 to 30 days, then it will fall under by SMA 0 category. For example, if your EMI is due, for example, if some interest and EMI is due on the 7th of a particular month, and the company is not able to pay that on timely basis, then on till 7th of next month, the account will be fall under SME 0 category, because your DPD, you can say your overdue days will be in 1 to 30 day period only. But if the company will not pay beyond 31 after 31 days, the 38 days, and then account will slip into the SME 1 category. It means their overdue of interest and principal will be between 31 to 60th days. This is the SME 1 category. And then the last is the SME 2. This is the 61 to 90 days category. If a company or an individual is unable to pay their debt, meet their debt obligation by 90 days, so that will fall under their SME 2 category. But what if a company doesn't pay their doesn't meet their debt obligations beyond 90 days, then this account will slip into a NPA category. So here are two basic categories: standard assets and non-performing assets. Standard asset, as I discussed, SMA 0, 1 and 2. They all are fall under SMA 0, 1 and 2, fall under standard asset category only. Then we'll talk about, as your account will when your overdue days will pass 90 days, then it will fall under NPA category. Now, what is NPA category? NPA category is an situation where an asset cease to generate income for the bank, basically. Where especially in NPA category, a bank does not recognize any income, and principal and interest installment of the principal and interest, if remain overdue for 90 days, then it will slip into NPA category. And further, how there are different categories of there are further different categories of NPA, and how we can recognize a account turned into NPA asset. First of all, if the interest and principal remain overdue for 90 days, and account remain out of order for 90 days, bill remains overdue for more than 90 days, installment of the principal or interest thereon remain overdue for 2 crop seasons, basically for the short crop durations. This is for agriculture laws, basically. And if your installment of the principal and interest remain overdue for 1 crop season, for long duration crop means I can quote example of here, cane is a long crop season, basically. So these are the basic examples how our accounts can slip into an NPA category. So now we can discuss what are the basic difference with what are the further category of NPA, because generally हम लोग ये discuss करते हैं कि what is the standard asset and what are the NPA assets. So NPA assets further classified as per the RBI circular dated 1st of October 2021 IRAC norms. RBI recently come up with a circular. So they have clearly mentioned a category of the NPA accounts. These are the substandard asset if your NPA account is below 12 months. For example, if an account remain into an NPA category for the first 12 months, it will be considered as a substandard asset. If that NPA extended beyond 1 year, then it will create a then it will turn into a doubtful asset for the lenders. For that, lenders have to make certain provisions that we can discuss on some other session as well, provisioning on the provisioning part of this particular financial stressed assets for a banker. And then the last category is the loss assets. What is the loss asset? That is really important to understand here. What are the loss assets? Loss assets are the assets where basically, like bank has identified that there no recovery will be happen. That can be done by their internal or their external auditors. There are RBI auditors. And in that case, bank has to fully return off that particular debt asset. So this is the basic difference between SMA and NPA category of the account. So now let's move to what is basically the restructuring. This is the restructuring. Restructuring is nothing, basically it's a I must say it is it's an art, basically, where we can provide some dither to our client because in restructuring cases, 99% time our client is a financially stressed corporate. So what are the basic feature of a restructuring? Restructuring is an act where a lender, for such financial or economic reasons, can provide some concession to the borrowers. And concessions kya kya ho sakte hain? Concession can be your modification in terms of advances, like reduction in rate of interest, alteration of repayment period. Like alteration means obviously it's a elongation or deferment of some repayment period, and change in their installment amounts, and further additional in restructuring, a lender can provide some additional finance to the financially stressed corporate as well, because this is the very common question we face while having a meeting with our clients, that can we get some additional finance? Yes, you are eligible to get additional finance in a resolution plan while restructuring basically. But again, it depends from company to company, their industry, and to the lenders as well, how much lenders are comfortable with that particular company. So this is not we cannot straight away deny that yes, though you are financially stressed company, you cannot get additional finance. Yes, you can get additional finance subject to certain conditions and certain situations. So now we need to understand. Now here, now we have understood what is the financial stress, what are the reasons behind the financial stress, what are the difference between SMA and NPA. We can conduct a restructuring on both stages, at a SMA stage as well and at a NPA stage as well. It is nowhere written that only NPA account can be restructured. An account which is under SMA category can be restructured as well. Now here our role starts. Now basically we need to understand what Resurgent is doing and can do for their financially stressed client after understanding this financial stress and client's requirement basically. So before starting a restructuring proposal, so there are I have tried to figure out what an analyst, I'm calling myself an analyst only, so what an analyst should do actually. First of all, there should have a detailed diagnosis of the cause of stress. Then evaluation of historical data is most important thing while preparing a resolution proposal for a client. And then analysis of their debt profile, which may include your short-term debt, long-term debt, and other factors as well. So let's start with the detailed analysis of cause of stress, because when we just for an example, when we visit a doctor, first of all, doctor recommend us some test for diagnosis of our illness basically. It may be your CT scan, your MRI, just to diagnose what the cause is basically. You may be having some symptoms, but doctor need to identify their background, their cause basically, because until unless he will not be able to identify the cause, he cannot treat us. So similar role we have to play here while looking at a restructuring proposal. We need to carefully examine what was the best possible factors occurred in the recent past, which leads to the financial crisis for a corporate. That can be, again, as I discussed earlier, that can be your sharp decline in your sale, sharp decline in your profitability margin due to some competition, due to some changing environment in the industry, policy in the industry, taxation factors, and some like other factors like COVID, because during this time, during COVID, most of the industries feel the heat. Industries like hospitality, tours and travel sectors, aviation, they're the most impacted sectors. So we need to understand critically what was the cause of stress for the company, so that we can mitigate those causes while preparing a resolution proposal for the client. Because when we discuss a proposal with the lenders, they are also keen to investigate that how you are coping up this particular situation, which was the basic reason for the stress in the past. So now the second factor is the evaluation of the historical data. Why historical data is important? We need to understand. So because it is historical data only which can provide us a fair picture how the company has performed in the past. The evaluation of company's past financial performance can serve many purposes and provide us a basis for forward looking analysis. So based on their past trend, we can draw a line for our future projections. So in a simple words, so data we can get from their financial reports, financial statements, their corporate press releases if it is listed entity, some media newses, and from their and such some industry surveys as well. And data can be common and data should be a common sizing financial statement for computing the financial ratios, and after that we can compare that ratios with some industry benchmarks. That is really important to understand here, importance of the analysis of financial ratios with the peer comparison, you can say, or from the industry benchmark. Because if there is a huge deviation, then we need to understand why there is such a deviation and what are the mitigation factors for those deviations. This will provide us a very fair picture of the company past performance, especially like sales trend, sale product mix trend, because there may be many product in the company. Profitability margins, movement of various working capital, holding days. That is also very important to understand here. What was the holding period of the company in the recent 3 year, 5 years, like whether it is increasing on a year-on-year basis, whether it is decreasing or year basis, or what is the that may include your debtor holding period, creditor holding period, raw material WIP, and finished goods holding period. Apart from this, one can also perform a peer analysis for the better justification of future projections. Because once we analyze the past performance of the company, that will provide us a basis for future analysis. That will also provide us a very fair justification. Because one thing in restructuring proposal, what I have learned during a time is that whatever the assumptions you are assuming while projecting the projected numbers, it is very important to justify the assumptions. Because it has to be vetted by a TV agency, then by credit rating agency as well. So at every stage, you have to justify your numbers with the proper justifications, whether it is backed by your past trend, whether it is backed by your some industry trend, or some other factors. So here one important thing I would like to mention, that industry of the borrower play a very important role. Like what are the future perspective of the industry, whether it is a sunrise industry or a sunset industry. For example, in current scenario, if we'll talk about industry like ethanol, FMCG, infra, power, there are the few sectors, they are growing like anything actually. So because we have recently got some circulars for blending of ethanol into petrol, so everyone is now looking, every sugar industry basically is now looking for ethanol production. Again, FMCG have a very booming demand, power and infra. So as in Indian government is quite positive for infra development. So the companies who are focusing on ethanol, FMCG, power like renewable basically, and infra are having a very positive impact. And the industries like real estate, retails, which are not doing well right now. So based on the past data analysis, we can project our sales and EBITDA margins for next few years in a justified manner. So one should be quite conservative. Again, which I have learned in my practical experience, that one have to be very conservative while projecting the numbers, as the same has to be vetted by the TV agency and the rating agency. Because if you will take very aggressive numbers, then it will be very difficult for us to justify or to back by our number with a proper justification. Because we have seen such a scenario in one of our case where we didn't get a desired rating because of some numbers, though it was not our fault, it was because of the lenders and all. So, now the third thing is the analysis of the debt profile of the company. So now, what is debt profile of the company? One need to understand. Basically, debt profile of the company, which provide us a fair picture about the lenders, who are the lenders to the company, what are the basic sanction facilities the company is availing, which may involve your type of facilities, whether it is fund based, non-fund based, long term, short term, revolving, and what are the facilities, what are the basically rate of interest to the company, what are the commissions and margins charged by the lenders for their credit facilities, what are the current outstanding of the company, what are the interest overdue, if interest and principal overdue, if any, to that particular account. This may include various other informations like your NPA date, security details, that may vary from case to case, and we have to critically examine debt profile, because that will provide us a fair picture about the company debt management and will help us to project future debt requirement of the company. So by doing so, we will be aware of debt structure of the company, their long-term debt, their short-term debt, because again, while preparing a resolution plan, we have to create a perfect blend of long-term and short-term funds based on the capability of the business to sustain the debt in the future. Because it is of no use if we will prepare a resolution plan to which company cannot adhere in a long term, because restructuring is, you can say restructuring is a one time exercise, though it is nowhere written that a company cannot do restructuring again and again, but it will be very difficult for a company to implement a restructuring plan again and again, because of loss of trust and all that by the lenders. So if there are short-term debt like working capital facility, then we have to understand how much is the drawing power is available with the company as on date of crystallization of debt. You can also call it cut-off date and all. So and that drawing power can be calculated after having an impact of your slow-moving stock, if any, your any debtors beyond permitted day limit, and various other factors. So, as we know, drawing power is an important concept for fund-based working capital financing facilities. It is a limit up to which a borrower can withdraw funds within the cash credit limit. In case your current DP is less than the outstanding working capital limit, in that case, we can carve out the excess working capital by the different amount. For example, I'm just stopping my share here, because I will take you through some case study here. Just is my screen visible to all? Hello, anyone?
Yes, it is visible.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so thanks for your response. So I'm here. I have created a very simple example of the debt profile and further analysis. So here is a company called ABC Limited having a single lender, which is SBI, and having a two type of facilities. These are the fund-based working capital facility and a term loan at an interest rate of 12%. At a rate of interest 12%, the sanction amount was 600 crore of fund-based working capital and a term debt of 400 working capital. But as on date of NPA, the outstanding of the working capital was 610 crores, and the term loan was 300 crores. So total outstanding as on date of NPA was 910 crores, and their interest overdue on that day was 18.30 crore and 9 crore respectively for working capital and term loan. So total outstanding was 937.30 crore as on date of NPA. So now here we need to understand that the company has a sanctioned working capital limit of 600 crore. So I have another assumption here, which is the available drawing power after adjusting your slow moving, after debtors and other pressing creditors and all. So we have a drawing power available to the company is 400 crores. So simply we cannot avail a credit facility working for the fund-based working capital facility beyond 400 crore, because drawing power is what is allowing us to basically utilize the limit. So here we cannot, the company, though company have a sanction limit of 600 crore, but it cannot utilize the limit beyond 400 crore because their DP doesn't allow them. So while preparing a resolution plan, we need to understand what is the DP, what are the proposed rate of interest we are going to propose, and several other factors like what is the repayment period, what will be the repayment period, what will the moratorium period, and extra. So here is the I have drawn a restructured debt profile, post restructuring debt profile. My fund based working capital limit will reduce to 400 crore out of 628.30 crore. It will reduce to 400 only, because my DP doesn't allow me to have a working capital limit of 628 crores. And the remaining amount of 210 will go into the WCTL, working capital term loan. So my term loan, which was earlier 300 crore, so now reduced to 22 crore. Why it is 22 crore? Because we need to understand first of all, we need to understand the concept of the sustainable debt and unsustainable debt. Now, what is the sustainable debt? Sustainable debt is a debt which a company can sustain with their future cash flow. Because while preparing a resolution plan, we analyze the historical data of the company and projected few numbers. So here in this case, what I have assumed, the company will earn a PAT of loss of 20 crores in the first year, then 40, 46, 52, and so on till the till the 8th year of the resolution plan. So here is a constraint for me that will define what will be the debt a company can sustain by their cash flow. So if I'll talk about sustainability is not a rocket science, because we need to understand what is sustainable debt. Sustainable debt we can identify if I am getting a DSCR, if means the debt to which I can service. And servicing can be of two types. It can be an interest servicing and it can be a repayment if there is a term debt. First of all, we need to understand at the first year, what is their EBITDA level, what is their sales, what is their profitability, and what are the margins they are incurring. If they are earning a healthy margins to sustain X number of debt to the tune of, you can say 1.25 on year basis DSCR and 1.5 on a average basis DSCR. That amount we can carve out as a sustainable debt. The rest can go into the unsustainable debt portion. Further, we can discuss that what treatment we can do with the unsustainable portion of debt. So once we will get a fair picture regarding the sustainable debt based on our sales and EBITDA projections, we can carve out within the sustainable debt category. Here I have carved out. First of all, company need a working capital to run through their day-to-day operations. And though they are having a DP of 400 crore, so I have assumed the company will be having only 400 crore of fund-based working capital limit for their future requirement. The rest of the working capital limit out of 610 will go into the working capital term loan. Because I am having a constant of my sustainable debt, my term loan will be limited to 22 crore only. The rest of the debt of my 278 crore will move into the unsustainable portion of debt. However, my FITL1 is in this particular case, FITL1 is the amount which was interest overdue at the time of NPA date. But I'm assuming NPA date as a cutoff date only. So cutoff date is basically a date where we crystallize our debt for restructuring. So and FITL2 is a amount of interest accrued during the interest moratorium. Here I have assumed the interest moratorium of 1 year, because company is getting negative cash flow during first year of their operations after restructuring, implementation of the restructuring. So they are not able to service their interest portion as well. So they are required 1 year moratorium. which will be converted into funded interest term loan 2, which is 46.15 crore. So here is a complete debt profile of 983.45 crore, which include my all sustainable and unsustainable debt. Sustainable debt consists of working capital. I'm repeating again: fund-based working capital term loan, FITL 1 and FITL 2, and the remaining 278 will move to the unsustainable debt. Now the point here come what we can do with the unsustainable debt. So, as per RBI, unsustainable debt, clearly, what does it mean? It means a debt which a company cannot sustain in any manner, basically. It can be converted into equity, it can be converted into your compulsory convertible preference shares, etc. Because company cash flows are unable to sustain this portion of debt. So, this is again a very critical point which need to be discussed with lenders very carefully, because it's a clear-cut haircut for the lenders. Though we can create some instruments where we can convey to lender that there is no haircut by giving them such an option of for example, buyback of CCPS, conversion of equity or whatever. But while restructuring, lender will have to take a hit on their books in regard of this unsustainable debt, because this will be converted into equity or equity like instrument, and as per IRAC norms they have to create a higher provisionings against this unsustainable portion of debt. So no lender wants to have a unsustainable portion of debt in a restructuring plan, basically. So here is a clear-cut example of debt servicing calculation. What I have done, I have assumed a debt repayment term debt repayment period of 8 years. So my total debt will be repaid in the 8 year with the including interest and principal moratorium of 1 year. So again, it is very important to understand that our financial model, our restructuring plan will be vetted by TEB agency independently and a credit rating agency independently. So we have to justify why we have assumed all the numbers. And to be on a very conservative side, while preparing a financial model, we should keep DSCR in optimum range of at least 1.25 minimum on year basis, and at least 1.50 for an average DSCR. And for average DSCR, it's just a total of all the years, and then we can get a numerator and denominator by dividing on it. So we can get the average DSCR here. So I'm just stopping this share again. Just a minute.
Vipulji.
Yes.
Sir, Bhuvnesh this side from Jaipur.
Yeah, please.
Sir, just wanted to understand what is the definition of drawing power and FITL, and how to calculate this in?
Sir, it's a very important, first of all, to understand what is the drawing power and MPBF. First of all, we need to understand what is MPBF. MPBF is a maximum permissible bank finance. This is basically used, these terms are basically used for the fund-based working capital facilities. MPBF is a calculation of debt which is working capital, basically is required by a company to run their day-to-day operations. And drawing power and basically DP, we call it as DP, is the limit a company can utilize their MPBF or their sanctioned working capital facility to that extent only. So there is a difference between MPBS and your DP. How you can calculate a DP now? It is important. DP is what? Basically, while sanctioning a credit facility to a corporate debtor, lender provides keep certain margins for and benchmark for calculation of DP. So generally, it is 25% margin over your stock, and generally 40% margin over their book debts. So a DP can be calculated. For example, your stock is of 100 rupees, and their margin is of 25. So your 75 will be on your DP will be 75 on your stock, and if you are having a debtors of 100 crores and 40% margin is there on your debtors, then 60 rupees will be your DP on your debtors. So your total DP, though I will complete it, just allow me some time. Your total DP will be 75 plus 60, and if you are having any creditors, then you have to reduce your creditors as well, and then you can get the calculate the DP drawing power. So now the next point you have asked was the FITL. FITL is basically the funded interest term loan. Basically, this is the because this is the interest. It can be overdue, or it can be overdue interest, or basically it is the interest funded by the bank to the corporate borrower in form of the term loan. For example, as I discussed in my case, my client was not able to service the debt. That's why it went into NPA category to such an amount for 23 or 24 odd crores. So my client was not able to pay that particular interest on time, and not in position right now to pay that immediately. So that can the borrower can request to a lender for conversion of that portion of amount into FITL, which is funded interest term loan, and can be repaid over a period of time. It can be treated as a normal term loan only.
Okay.
So now we have an idea of what is financial stress, what is restructuring, how we can what basic factors we need to adhere while preparing a resolution plan. Now what are the basic requirement of a restructuring plan or a restructuring or resolution plan? So first of all, we need to understand that we have to create a very sustainable and a viable plan for our client in a long run. As I discussed earlier, we cannot talk on ad hoc basis. We cannot project anything which is very aggressive, which our client is unable or will face difficulty to fulfill that, because that may again lead to another financial crisis. So we need to critically plan our numbers in such a manner so that our company or our client can adhere to our resolution plan for the successful completion. Again, I have already discussed DSCR. It should be at least minimum 1.25 on year-on-year basis and 1.50 on average basis. So again, this is one more important point I need to mention, calculation of lender's sacrifice, because as the definition of restructuring says, the lender provides some concession to the borrower. In case if someone is providing some concession to the someone or our borrower, then it means the lenders are incurring some sacrifice. They may be sacrificed with their NPV value or their rate of interest and some other numbers as well. So we need to calculate what is the exact sacrifice our lenders are bearing. That is also very important. How to calculate the sacrifice. Sacrifice we can calculate by getting because on the day our account will turn NPA, it means the lenders are eligible to recover their debt completely, fully on that day only. So it is the NPV of that debt for the lender is the amount outstanding on the date of NPA basically. For example, if your outstanding as on NPA date is 1,000 crore, so NPV of their debt is 1,000 crore for a debtor, for your lender. But we are proposing some other structures of repayment in our resolution plan. So we may be altering some. We may be seeking some concession over rate of interest, some deferment in the repayment schedule, which may arise to some loss of NPV value to the lender. So we have to calculate that NPV, which will be the sacrifice to the lenders. And based on, and the second important thing after lender sacrifice, one should, we need to understand that, because every lender wants to have promoters skin in the game actually. They want कि boss we are, हम तो restructuring कर रहे हैं, we are doing restructuring. At least promoters should bring some of their funds to the company, whether it is towards the operation side or towards repayment side. That's a separate matter. So that promoter skin can be in the game only. So we need to calculate that promoter contribution as well. So now here is a question arises, how we can calculate promoter contribution. Basically, though in the CDR there was a formula which was squashed by your circular, RBI circular dated 7 June 2019, depreciation, what we call it. But still, lenders internally have developed some policies and their circulars, and still they are following the same formula for calculation of promoters contribution. What the formula is, this is the 20% of the sacrifice amount. We have calculated the lender sacrifice. Suppose there is a total debt of 1,000 crore, and the total restructured debt is 1,000 crore, and if there's sacrifice is coming to, let's say, 200 crore. So the 20% of the sacrifice, which will be your 40 crore, is the one parameter, and 2% of the restructured debt, which is my 1,000 crore, 2% of the 1,000 crore, which is my 20 crore. And out of these two, whichever is higher, will be the promoter contribution towards the resolution plan. So in this example, the 40 crore, which is the 20% of my restructured, 20% of the sacrifice, will be the minimum promoter contribution towards the restructuring. Again, what will be the use of this promoter contribution? Again, there is no way written what can be the use, but lenders generally asked to prepay their debt by using the promoter contribution. But as an analyst or as a advisor to the corporate, we usually advise lenders to use this in creation of TESRA or towards the operation of the company, towards the day-to-day operations of the company. Now the next point is the TEV. As I discussed earlier, whatever the plan we will finalize after having a discussion or an informal consent from the lenders will be vetted by the TEV agency. Now, what the TEV agency will do? TEV will critically examine. Basically, we have written a question paper, and they are the examiners. They will provide us the mark whether we are pass or fail, and that is very important. It is very important to pass that exam basically. And the TEV agency will rate. TEV agency will provide us whether we have whatever the assumptions we have considered while preparing the projections are in sync with industry benchmarks or are achievable or not, by considering by analyzing some technical aspect of the company, management capabilities of the company, past performance of the company. There are a few parameters which TEV agency consider while evaluating a assignment, basically resolution plan. Once we get a go ahead from the TEV that your resolution plan is technically, economically, and financially viable, then lenders appoint rating agency, because as per RBI guidelines, dated 7 June 2019, it is clearly mentioned that to get a RP4 rating is a basically non-starter for any restructuring. Basically, you cannot implement a restructuring plan unless you are having a RP4 rating. There are several parameters which is ranges from RP1 to RP6. maybe I need to check that. But RP4 is the basically benchmark one resolution plan must be having before getting implemented. So it is like investment grade rating only, which is the BBB minus in normal credit rating. Okay. So what are the parameters and how many rating agencies are required for this? So if your total restricted debt aggregate exposure is less than 100 crore, then there is no requirement of any credit rating evaluation. But if your debt is between 100 to 500 crore, then evaluation of your resolution plan from one credit rating agency is mandatory. But if your debt is more than 500 crore, then in that case, evaluation has to be done by two rating agencies. Means we have to get a RP4 rating, two rating agencies. And that is the most important step during a restructuring, basically. So once we get a restructuring, once we get a RP4 rating from the credit evaluation agencies, we can approach to the lenders for their further process at their HO level or their respective authority level to get the final approvals and for finally implementation of the resolution plan. So here I tried to cover a very brief idea regarding the approach one should adopt while preparing, while analyzing a resolution transaction from client angle, from lender's angle, and through different intermediaries like TV and rating agency. Hope I was successful to convey my thought or views to you guys successfully. If you guys have any questions, please do let me know. I will try to answer that on immediate basis.
Vipul, are we done?
Yes, sir. We are done.
So would request the members, if they do have any queries, they can.
Yeah. So I'm once again requesting all the participants, if they do have any query, please do let us know so that I and Sudarshan ji can address those queries and conclude this session.
So Vipul, from my side, I would like to make a submission that it was an excellent session.
Thank you so much,
delivered by you, and we are looking forward that another sessions are also being taken from by you, so that the members of this forum can get enlightened accordingly.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, Vipul sir, I have a question. In fact,
yeah.
We in the past experience, I have seen that if a company has a debt of around 1,000 crores, right, there is a chance of portion restructuring. Means a part of banker has to restructure. So that is called the residual debt. What that means, in fact, actually.
Sorry, can you come again?
So in these residual debt, what is the definition of residual debt?
Basically, residual debt is the debt basically is the sustainable debt is your residual debt, because you have to carve out, you have to identify your sustainable debt. Okay. And the amount of unsustainable debt you will convert into some equity or equity-like instrument, compulsory convertible instrument. The debt after that remains into the kitty will be treated as the residual debt, jiska rating hota hai basically. For that,
can you give me an example, a short XYZ?
So yeah, so in my example only, which I have quoted during my presentation, the total debt was somewhere around 900 crore. But my cash flow doesn't allow me to service that debt during a tenure of which lenders permitted me for 8 years. My cash flow allow me to service only a X amount of debt, let's say 600 crore of debt only. So my 300 crore of debt was the unsustainable debt for me actually. So which may be converted into your direct into equity or into the CC compulsory convertible preference share. So my 600 crore of debt after analyzing sustainable debt and after capitalization of FITL will be treated as a residual debt, because the residual debt is the debt only which will be rated by the rating agencies, whether 1 or 2 as per the debt
to
size.
be on the same page, यहाँ पर 900 करोड़ का डेट है और 600 करोड़ सस्टेनेबल डेट है, तो 600 करोड़ इज द रेसिडुअल डेट.
Residual debt, right?
ठीक है sir. And one more sir, how many time a company can go for that? Suppose he go for a rating agency and वहाँ पे RP5 आ गया.
Sir, होता क्या है देखिए, if I'll talk formally,
right,
rating is a one time exercise for basically for the lenders, but we do have a very practically अगर मैं बात करूं तो yes, in past we do have some experiences where we have approached to the rating agencies for more than one time for the same case to get the RP4. So it is nowhere written कि भैया आपको एक ही बार जाना है, 2 बार जाना है. You can change your plan and you can again move
यहाँ
to
पर
the.
सर मैं सबमिशन करना चाहूंगा कि अगर आप एक ही प्लान के लिए बात कर रहे हैं तो एक ही प्लान में अगर RP5 रेटिंग आ गई है और उसी प्लान को आपको अगर आगे बढ़ाना है तो यू कैन प्लेस अ रिव्यू रिक्वेस्ट बिफोर द रेटिंग एजेंसी विथ सम एडिशनल कंफर्ट कि उसको, जैसे बहुत बार क्या होता है कि वो बोलता है कि मेरे को कंफर्ट नहीं आ रहा है इसलिए RP5 आई है, तो हम क्या बोलते हैं कि डेसरा का अमाउंट जो है वो बढ़ा दीजिए, जिससे कि इन द इवेंट ऑफ एनी इवेंचुअलिटीज आपका वो डेसरा अमाउंट काम में आ जाएगा. तो ऑन दैट कंडीशन आपका RP4 RP5 रेटिंग को रिव्यू कर लेते हैं. सेकेंडली क्या है कि अगर सपोज आपका रिवोल्यूशन प्लान अगर चेंज हो जाता है कोई भी कारण से, तो वो चेंज के लिए आप फिर से रेटिंग एजेंसी को अप्रोच कर सकते हैं विद सबमिशन कि मेरा रिजोल्यूशन प्लान चेंज हो गया है, अब इसके ऊपर मेरे को रेटिंग चाहिए.
तो सुदर्शन सर, इसमें अगर रिजोल्यूशन प्लान चेंज होता है तो टीवी कैन बी वो दोबारा से करवाना होगा, टीवी वगैरह.
हाँ, टीवी स्टडी अकॉर्डिंगली अमेंड होना पड़ेगा.
बट अगेन देयर इज अ मतलब यहाँ पे एक पॉसिबिलिटी तिवारी जी ये भी हो सकती है कि अगर आपका प्लान चेंज हुआ है, ठीक है, तो ये लेंडर्स पे डिपेंड करता है कि वो फिर से टीवी करा रहे हैं या नहीं करा रहे.
विपुल, कंफ्यूजन क्रिएट मत कर, वो टीवी स्टडी करवानी ही पड़ेगी क्योंकि रिजोल्यूशन प्लान चेंज हो गया है. वो लेंडर्स के ऊपर कुछ नहीं है क्योंकि लेंडर्स के पास में हेड ऑफिस में वो अटक जाएगा.
और सुदर्शन सर, इसमें ऐसा भी है क्या, सपोज अगर कोई रेटिंग एजेंसी टीवी करके उस क्लाइंट का देती है तो दे आर नॉट एलिजिबल फॉर डूइंग आरपी रेटिंग?
हाँ जी, अगर वो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट हो जाता है जैसे केयर के साथ हो रहा है अभी.
राइट सर, ठीक है, थैंक यू सर.
So we can conclude the session for today, and we hope that the attendance which was there today itself, it will significantly increase in the next session, and hoping for the best and have a happy weekend for all.
Thank you all. Thank you, Sudarshan ji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello.